Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. Guys, I have to admit, I am having a change of heart. I like to admit when I'm wrong. I did it about David Grush, and I'm doing it now because I can remember when I listened to this episode that I'm about to show you some clips from. When I heard this guy talking, I was like, this is pure nonsense. I remember I was driving around and I was listening to it and I'm like, this is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And now Joe Rogan has actually had a change of heart as well. This is how he spoke about the man we are about to talk about in this episode not too long ago. Listen close.
The two most important people to UFO disclosure are yourself and Tom DeLonge, right? Tom DeLonge's fucking Blink-182.
Not only
Tom DeLonge
that,
broke my heart many years ago.
he was the worst guest I've ever had about UFOs because he fucking believes everything.
That's right. That's
he
the problem.
doesn't have.
I was
he doesn't
like,
have ability to
I was
sort.
like, something's wrong.
Right.
There's like two wires, and you need to go like this, and they're not doing that. They're
well,
like
and
this.
that's actually a problem in some of these areas that are like pushed down to the mainstream.
Yeah.
Is the people that stick with it are the ones who will embrace the wildest shit, and
It
then that
wasn't
serves to
that.
continue to discredit.
It wasn't
No.
that. It was something wrong.
Oh, something was just like literally
he
off.
Literally watches things that are obviously fake, and he believes in them.
Oh, dude, it was like when you had Les Stroud on.
Amazing that Joe said that. Absolutely amazing, because now we flash to 2025 and Joe Rogan actually has this to say about Tom DeLonge. If you don't know about the Tom DeLonge episode, I'm going to show you some clips now, because the things that he was saying way back 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago when he was on, they are all the things that are in the main zeitgeist of thoughts when it comes to UFOs and UAPs. But listen to how Joe has changed his mind so drastically.
From here,
That's what I think. Because if it's got the kind of similar kind of like primate form, then
it might look. If these things they're finding these mummified remains in Peru. Clearly, it was here. Why would we assume it's not from here?
yeah.
Like maybe we just have a really inaccurate timeline of life on this planet, and maybe some things went undersea, which sounds nuts. But then there's all these fucking videos of things coming out of the water.
That's where I would hide if I was trying to hide, or even,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, if you've mastered gravity to the point where you create like a bubble around everything you are and you travel through it without any resistance whatsoever, and they've clocked things going underwater that are going like 500 knots underwater. They have no idea how it does that.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of it's like this. I mean, you probably know more about this than me, but my only exposure to the kind of UAP thing was traditionally through. I'm a big fan of Blink-182, and there's Tom DeLonge.
I've had Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, you've had him on.
Yeah.
You've had Travis on as well. You
Yeah,
need to get
Travis is the
Mark
shit.
on. He's the third.
Yeah.
He's complete the set.
I love Travis.
I'm in a band.
Not that I don't love Tom either. I just thought he
Tom's
was crazy.
awesome.
I thought he was crazy when I had him on before, and now I'm like, damn, I think he might be onto something.
Well, he's so cool. He's
But
always
also-
been like an inspiration for me. Like I make music, and he's been a big inspiration for me. But he always got me into. He kind of got me into the UAP thing for a while
all
ago.
in.
Yeah.
He's all in. But I do have to say that if I was the government and I wanted to like spread a bunch of crazy stories about UFOs, I'd tell them to people like Tom.
I guess so. Yeah.
And I'd tell them to people like me. I mean, I think people do that on this podcast. I think some of the information that gets shared on this podcast is probably bullshit.
to kind of like
to hide
muddy the
things.
waters. Yeah.
And to prime people for disclosure.
Yeah.
I think if I was in charge and if I had done the Hal Puthoff thing, you know what Hal Puthoff was assigned to do? Where he was,
Yes.
so they gave him a numerical value for all these different things that would be positively influenced by disclosure and negatively influenced. And you assign a value 1 through 10 to like what's going to happen in religion, what's going to happen in politics, what's banking, all that stuff. And this was during the Bush administration. So Bush essentially said to Hal Puthoff, the Bush administration said, we have been working on a crash retrieval program. We have vehicles that are not from this world. We are not alone. If we release this information to the general public and disclose it, what will be the negative impact? What will be the positive impact? And is it overall positive or is it overall negative? And everyone, there was a bunch of different independent people that they assigned this task to. Everyone came up with much more on the negative than on the positive. So they decided to not disclose it. This is how it put off story. I can't tell you if it's true or not.
Yeah, but why did they think it was negative? Just because of like the shock,
the impact. The shock, the complete.
The shock, the impact. I don't really. I've talked about it before. I don't buy it. I don't buy that we can't handle it. I think people would handle it just fine. I think the people in power would have an issue with it. I think that their structure of power would be shaken the most. But I think people would. It's so important. You ever gone like way up north, wherever you're at? You go way up north. You go to the sticks. Not a lot of light pollution, and you look up and you see more stars. Sometimes if you're lucky, you go to a place where it's just wild, but it gets you in tune with the whole thing that's going on, all of God's creation going on. And you get real clicked in that you're a part of that. You're not a cog in a weird machine that's moving around. You're actually a part of that whole thing that you can see up there. And you're one of those, like one of those beautiful dots that's up there. You're actually on one of those. It clicks you into something different. And I think that if disclosure came and they said there are other things, other planets, I think that people would get clicked into that. They'd go, oh yeah, we are a species. I think they would come together in that sense. Again, bad for a power structure. I think they would come together and say, oh, we are a species. We're actually all the species. And there's other species out there. Okay? So instead of calling each other the N-word, we're going to find an N-word for those things up there. We're going to find an N-word for those things up there. And we're all going to call them that. Such a dumb joke. Oh my gosh. But anyway, let's jump into a little bit more. Now, Joe Rogan, he admits Tom DeLonge wasn't as crazy as he seemed. Let me just jump into this clip real quick of Tom just talking about UFOs. Because again, most of what he's saying, and I'm going to jump into the Joe Rogan stuff again in a second, just a quick 45 seconds. But most of what he's saying are things that we have all come to say, yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, even to the point where senators, congressmen, Luna, she's saying it. Burleson, he's saying it. Working along David Grush, who's also saying it. Jake Barber. There's just so many different people who are now all coming together on these theories.
Well, I should say it this way. The significance of UFOs is multiple parts, but number one, it's not what you think it is. It's not coming from other planets. The evidence doesn't suggest that.
Interdimensional.
Yes. And the reason is because time is parallel. It's not linear. Or it's not like we start here and go forward in time. Time is side by side, which means everything in the past and the future is existing in this moment, but within different frequencies. So a civilization that's at the end of their technological cycle could build a submarine that changes its voltage and materializes in that same location, just into our timeline. And then fucking, it's crazy.
That was well articulated. I like that.
That was well articulated, just not making eye contact. Steve-O thought he was the crazy. He thinks he's the crazy one on every podcast. Then Tom DeLonge comes in. But what he's saying makes a lot of sense. I mean, and Tucker has been talking about them not being from other planets. Luna has suggested interdimensional. Burleson has suggested interdimensional. Grush, there's so many people now that is becoming part of the conversation, that these things are interdimensional. I think people who are summoning UFOs with their minds, with psychic ability, I think they're also starting to discover that they're not sending out an Uber signal to these aliens and they're coming from some faraway planet, that they're accessing something that's in another dimension. I think we're going to have more and more conversations around that. Here's also something that I just realized. Joe talking about disclosure, whether or not to let people know what's going on. If you were to disclose other planets, exactly what I said before, people would come together. There'd be a whole realization that you're a part of something very big, and people could unify over that. Every race, color, religion, everything could unify over that. if it's something that is possibly, and you know I say it almost every episode now, if it's something possibly demonic, some dark forces that are playing upon us, that would be something that you can't disclose. You could not disclose that you were working with something that is quite dark and demonic, and that is the thing that you're getting donations from and trying to reverse engineer their stuff. That would be unacceptable. That would piss people off, especially, people of God, men of God would be very, very angry about that type of behavior. And Tucker has suggested that that's what's going on. I've suggested it as well. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between UFOs and what we've always called demons in yesteryear, 18, 17, 16, biblical times. There's a lot of similarities between the two. And if we found out you were playing around with those forces, that would make people uneasy. Again, shake the power. This is Tom DeLonge actually talking a little bit about his travels to the Pentagon and things of that nature. So let's buckle in. This is where he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. And again, if you can remember, maybe you weren't like me. Maybe you knew better and you understood where Tom was at. But when I watched this episode, I was like, this is nonsense. I'm like, why is Joseph Rogan talking to this gentleman? Oh, I was like, oh, this is, But I've changed my tune, definitely. Listen to this.
And then I got a email out of nowhere that says, meet us next to the Pentagon at this day and time. And I did that. And from that,
you got an email from a random person?
No. I just can't tell you who it's from.
Okay.
And so then I go out.
Meet you next to the Pentagon? So you just flew to the Pentagon?
I flew out to Pentagon City. Yeah. It's dude, this
Were you
gets.
freaking out?
I'll tell you when I started freaking out. There's more. It gets way worse. This is nothing. So that started me out near DC taking some other high level meetings, and there was somebody at a very high level that closed the door, looked me in the eye, and says, "Okay, I'm going to introduce you to somebody." And that person comes to San Diego, puts me on the phone with a general, and the general is listening to my little stump speech about what I want to do with this franchise, because I definitely didn't want to, I wasn't looking to like force disclosure, and I wasn't looking to be rogue and break secrets. I was like, look, I know what's going on here, and you guys are doing a kick-ass job, and I would have done the exact same thing should I have been the guy at the top that had to make some really hardcore decisions 70 years ago. So I want to support you. I think people are cynical because there's a vacuum. You guys can't say what you're doing. So all these people are just coming up with a bunch of bullshit to say, oh, they don't want us to know, or we can't handle it, or it's all about oil and money and all this weird shit.
But you would put these pieces together independently.
I did.
And so based on books that you read?
Yeah, people think that like places like the CIA and the DIA, all these intelligence organizations have, a monopoly on information. They don't. They get their information from the real world too. They do have access to archives of information. They do have access to some amazing, satellite data and stuff like that. But if you're smart and you take your time, you know where to look and you find patterns, you can pretty much put together all the same shit they can, kind of, and that's what I did. And so when I pitched what I wanted to do, he said, come up and meet me tomorrow. And so I flew up to NASA, actually, NASA Ames, and had a 2-hour meeting there. And after 2 hours, that person says, he looks me in the eyes, I'm going to introduce you to someone else. And he did. And so I got on the phone with this person, and this person, go, I'm a skeptic. And then at the end of the conversation, he goes, fly out and see me. And so I did. And that's when things really started happening. So I fly out to this airport, and I sit at a table in a restaurant at the airport. No one's in there. And this gentleman sits down, and the waiter comes up, he waves off the waiter, and he looks me in the eye and says, it was the Cold War, and we found a life form. And that's when I started my pants, because I know a lot about this stuff, but you always wait to talk to somebody that is one of the inside people. You always want to have...
So he sits down at a restaurant with you at the airport and tells you that they found a life form.
Yes. And
during the Cold War?
During the Cold War, and everything that they did and every decision they made at the time was because of the consciousness of the Cold War.
And why has this guy decided to meet with you at an airport?
Because the only way you meet with these people, the only way you ever would have anyone talk to you is if you can provide a service that they need. Mm-hmm. And my service was pretty interesting to them, because I said, look, you guys you struggle with saying disclosure. You want to tell everybody everything, which I don't think everyone should know everything. And then you say they can't handle it, so don't tell them anything, and I'm like, there's a middle road there. And here's the way I would do the middle road. And it resonated with them, and so we had a pretty epic conversation for like 2 hours.
Why you? Like, why? What is it about what your message was?
Because
what your idea was that made them want to tell you some top secret shit that they've tried to keep away from the American people. When you take a guy who's like a big celebrity who's in a huge rock band like you, and you just say, hey, meet me in an airport. I'm going to tell you about a life form that we found during the Cold War because you're famous or because you know things?
No, because I have a service. So it's not. It sounds easy when you play it like that, but
service. A
service. Like, what can you do for them that they need help with?
And what could you do?
Communication. They don't have a way to make a movie, a book. They don't know how. They don't have a way to make documentaries. They don't have a way to go on a big show like this and communicate with young people. They don't do that, and nor should they. They look at. You got to look at what they're doing.
So they look to you for a spokesperson role?
I wouldn't say spokesperson role.
Communication role?
A communication role. It makes more sense.
So they would give some information to you and you would get it out to people. And now why wouldn't they do it themselves? Because they wouldn't have the same platform?
They don't have
access to the same platform
you
would have?
And the other reason is people have tried to do movies and stuff like this, but none of them know. I was fortunate enough to know the core story, and most people don't.
So explain that then, if you don't mind going back. Like, sure. You said that you were able to put things together that other people weren't. What are those things?
Essentially, it's the book Secret Machines, where you have a lot of private finance, you have some world bankers, and you have a lot of people internationally working together to figure out a plan of how to push back against something that's been coming here for a very long time, but using off the books finances and using mechanisms that we're not totally aware exist. And what people have to realize is, the UFO phenomenon isn't a phenomenon. There's the universe is fucking gigantic, and there's life everywhere. Every fucking where. And there's a lot of life that's way more advanced than we are. And just like Voyager left our solar system, a little dinky satellite from the 70s, and just like my company's going to be building, this electromagnetic craft that really can do the same thing to time that I've been telling you about. Other civilizations have that too, which means you can traverse those distances of space. And what you have.
Very, very interesting stuff. Now, Joe doesn't believe any of this as he's talking, and I was so happy that Joe didn't when this podcast first came out. I was like, I'm so happy Joe put this guy in his place or didn't believe him, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what I also think of as I'm playing that clip back and I'm seeing, a younger Joe Rogan, a little bit younger, almost 10 years younger. It almost seems like his mind was like, oh, that's the service you provide. I could provide that service. Who do I have to talk to? Pentagon? And they'll tell me things. And the next thing you know, Joe's off to the races, Now he has all the people that all the people Tom was talking about and Tom partnered with, Joe actually had on the podcast. Now, you might not believe in what Tom is saying, but Hal Puthoff is a real character. He's not he's real. He's legit. He's a legit dude. 100%. Joe interviewed him. He realizes he's a legit dude. Why would that legit guy partner with Tom DeLonge? In this company that Tom's talking about, he partnered with him. He's a co-founder in Tom's company. And then they have some other people down the chain as well. Kind of shows a little something. Let's move on to the second clip here. More of Tom.
Like minerals,
empire building.
Life,
I tell people
sperm,
eggs. I think it's
cheese.
I think it's tacos.
They're here
I think
for water.
they're here for the same reason I am. But I tell people a good way to look at this is look at Syria, and Syria's in chaos because the United States and Russia are having a proxy war there. Mm-hmm. Now look at the Earth. It's the exact same thing. Different races are coming here. And they're trying to win and against each other.
So there's more than one race.
Yeah.
How many
that's the
different
universe we're talking about. Right. I don't know how many. I don't know.
But there's a bunch of different creatures, and they all have the same sort of technology.
Yeah, and some are very human. Some look just like you and I.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, is there any sort of speculation as to why life forms from other planets, other galaxies, other solar systems, different kind of gravity, different environments, would create a life form that's exactly similar to us? Or are they imitating what we look like in order to infiltrate our world and hang with us?
I think probably
unknowingly.
I think all the above. I mean, look, if you look at like Syria, are you just going to say it's only Russia and America there? No, China's probably there. France is probably there. You know, I personally think the little aliens with the big black eyes, those are androids. They're biological robots. They're just programmed. They're no different than us cloning sheep. They just clone a being that can travel through space because space is
or some
very
sort
big.
of an artificial intelligence thing that
It
doesn't
is
have
AI.
a life form, right? I've heard that idea before, and it kind of makes sense a little bit, right? I mean, if you're a living thing and you're traveling through space, obviously you have biological limitations in terms of the need for oxygen and gravitational interactions and all these different things.
Well,
that
one of the
us.
hallmarks of those ones, the rumor is it in the back of their head is a transmitter. So you got to wonder where it's sending. But at the same time, you know, I can tell you that when you look at the Bible, the angels and the demons of the Bible would be the humans and the androids that I just told you about.
So you think the grays are the androids, right?
Yeah.
And so you think they're like some sort of devil?
No, I just think that that's how we characterized it because they come in, control
Right.
your thoughts, control your body, take you.
us in the middle of the night.
Yeah, demons, you know.
So do you think these things are traveling from where? Do we have any idea?
There's things that have been put out there, but I've never asked.
Why would you not ask that?
What the f***? You tell me star system like 483? And
Well, you know about element 115. I would want to know about Starship Enterprise coordinate 115B65 Polaris, wherever the f*** it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that there's connections to, man, you won't even f***ing believe it. I'll tell you that. You want to hear
Please.
it? Atlantis.
Atlantis, the sunken city?
Yeah,
There's a connection?
there's a connection.
What's the connection?
That there's a very advanced group that left after a catastrophe and hung around in a small outpost here and throughout time would push civilization forward, and that's who the Greek gods were.
Whoa.
Yep. And that's why it's very interesting when the Roswell wreckage, there's Greek writing.
Is there?
There is.
I've never seen any of the wreckage from Roswell. Have you?
It's online. You see it. Type in Roswell wreckage. You can see it.
Well,
Type in
all I've ever seen is the dude standing in front of the bullshit, the weather balloon
No,
stuff, where they're
look up-
laughing and yucking it up.
Roswell wreckage, Roswell I-beam. You'll see it. And it's got these Greek markings as far, and the witnesses that were there did what do you call it? Where they go on oath and tell. So that
Actual I-beam showing the word Eleftheria.
which means freedom in ancient Greek. So
Where's that from, Jamie?
let me tell you. Want me?
I don't know. It popped up when it.
Well,
I'm going to tell you
I
something
don't
else.
know.
Oh man, Tom DeLonge. I have to watch this episode over again. I just found a couple of clips that just kind of touched on some things that we're talking about today in 2025, which is human aliens. Just heard that story about I did an episode on it. Mr. Ballin did an episode on it as well, talking about the Mexican pilot who was used as a microphone by this advanced species. And they said that there's humans everywhere. Like physically, you are just like us, is what they were trying to get across. And it kind of makes sense. We kind of assume that on this planet, if you go to another continent, you're going to, like, especially before we, explored everything, you go to another continent, you're going to find people. You go to another place, you're going to find people. It's either going to be people or no one, but it's not going to be like a Komodo dragon standing on 2 feet. It's going to be like, hey guys, what's going on? You're not going to find that. Maybe it kind of works the same way, in the solar system. Let's just say there was life on another planet in the solar system. Who's to say that you wouldn't also stumble upon people? Who's to say if you went further out, you wouldn't stumble upon people? We feel like they could just be orbs of light, energy beings, something that maybe looks like a lizard but's not, maybe something that looks like another animal we have but's not, something maybe we can't even imagine completely. Who knows? But could just be humans. That is a possibility. Big possibility. I mean, we are at the point where we believe Elon, then we're going to go to Mars and we're going to send people. We're going to send a bunch of people and they're just going to be there and they're going to populate. And what if something happened on Earth that took away that population or knocked it back a crazy amount of time? And then the people on Mars, they stayed with 2025, or let's say it happens by I don't know, by the year 2100. So they on Mars have the technology of the year 2100. We on Earth get knocked back into the Stone Age. They take a long time to get back. Then they get back, realize everything's destroyed, and go, okay, so we have to build up the human species again. These are the descendants of the people who we left. They're not going to be able to just handle our technology right away. We can't just present this to them. They don't know anything. We have to gradually get them back into a phase of being technologically advanced. We have to get them back into a space of inventing things and learning how to work things. And they would watch steadily while we built back up. Meanwhile, they would be doing the same thing that we did with Mars, and they'd be figuring out another planet and another planet and another planet. And then we would just be getting our bearings back like we are right now. I don't know. It's very possible, though. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Definitely not out of the realm of possibility. But that's one thing with the human aliens. Gray androids. This has been something that people have brought up for a while, talking about the grays being some kind of android, some kind of biological robot, which I guess would be a good thing if it didn't need to eat or do anything. It's biological. It'll get all the data, and then it will just expire. And that way you don't have another species can't find the robot technology and recreate it. They would just find this, dead body, Peruvian mummy. They would just find that and be like, what is this? We don't know what to do with this. Right. And it would throw you off track of whoever actually sent it. Right. And that would make sense. The big head, the big eyes, cameras, so you can see everything in ultra 4K or whatever they do. And then big transmitter, why they have the big head, and you get all that information. That could be a thing. But like he touched on, and this is where people always veer off. This is where people, even a Tom DeLonge doesn't want to be seen talking about demons being real. I find it so interesting how so many people in the tinfoil community and in the UFO community don't want to be seen as the person saying that demons are real. It's just wild to me. But him talking about these grays being like demons, they are like demons. I don't think the people of yesteryear, biblical times, whatever you want to call it, back in the day, I don't think they were primitive and dumb. I think that they had a pretty good rap on the English language as they had it, right? Yeah, they didn't know our way of speaking, but who's to say our way is any better? Who's to say our descriptions are way better? What is it? Oh, it's unidentified. That's our description today. It's unidentified. Their description is like, no, that was a demon. It came from the other world, and it's come here to do evil things to us. So that's a pretty solid explanation versus us just being like, it's unidentified, and we don't know what it is, and we don't know where it's coming from, and we don't exactly know what it looks like. We have an idea, some people say, but for the most part, we're kind of, we don't know. Which explanation's better? Just saying. Let's jump into another Tom DeLonge clip here. And then there was one more thing talking about the demons, but we'll talk about that after. Let's jump in here. Tom talking again. I need to get this guy on the podcast. I really got to see if I can reach out to this guy.
What's interesting is on a quantum level, like everything in time is happening at the exact same moment, past, present, future. So what we see as physical reality, like look out your door and you see your street and the trees and other houses. But imagine if you kind of like just turn your head and it goes and you see that same location, but it's 1940. Turn it again and it's 1700. Turn it again, it's the year 3000. But it's the same place. Mm-hmm. And you can just kind of look through every timeline. That's all happening at the same moment. And what you end up actually seeing is all you believe is possible. That's not how it works. What they said is your brain is a transducer. So you're literally taking waves of potential, low frequencies, high frequencies, and you project them at the quantum level the instant that you look at something and think about it. And then it imprints it on a universal kind of hard drive that somebody else can now go to the location and see the same tree that you put there. So they're like, well, does a tree make a sound in the forest when it falls? No, it's not even there until a human is there to put it there. On the very fundamental, basic quantum level, the only way for a physical matter to exist is for a human to transduce the waves into physical matter. And if you don't, someone else will do it for you, and then you're kind of, and then you live in a world that you can't mesh with, So we are literally creating reality, and everything is happening everywhere, all at once. So if you think of your brain as this little antenna, you can literally tune into your own life experience. But there's cause and effect and all these different natural forces. So if you want to be a rock star and that's all you tune in, maybe you'll get there overnight, but you'll be on drugs and you'll hurt people and you'll have a crash. Because at the end of the day, it's about your soul learning lessons and getting better and consciousness expanding, because all of us are having lessons. But it's just a really fascinating way to think about life. And this is like the latest stuff with neuroscience and physics and quantum physics. And UFOs kind of sit at the nexus of all of that. That's how I got into this stuff, because I was like, I want to know about the machines and who are the pilots. But really what you learn is these machines aren't coming from other planets. They're coming from time, and then you go, why? Well, maybe we have a consciousness they don't have. So they can't like meditate and kind of cruise through all things at once. They have to use a machine to do it, So it gets really crazy quick, but I find that fascinating.
Very interesting that he just said that. There's I used to listen to a lot of self-help stuff, a lot of different self-help gurus, but not like the ones of today who are like, doing TikToks and stuff. They were the one like Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar. I forget which of them it was, but they said something along those lines where it was something in the sense of, if you're not going after your own dreams, you're going to be stuck going after someone else's. It was something in that realm. I wish I could find it, but I know if I'll just butcher it and I won't be able to find it. But there was a quote like that. It's just funny that he said that. Like, if you don't get it together, if you don't find something, look at it and start building your own reality, you're going to be in someone else's. And that's exactly how it goes. If you don't try to build that thing, you end up a cog in somebody else's thing. Yeah, very true. Don't want to end up like that. But yeah, that was Tom talking about time. And again, this is stuff that everybody's kind of just like, yeah. But when he was doing that podcast, and just to show you here, he is aligned with Hal Puthoff. That is not something that I made up. Hal Puthoff is an American engineer and parasocial, who also co-founded To the Stars, Inc., formerly known as the Stars Academy of Art and Science, with Tom DeLonge. So he actually did start this company with Tom. He's a legit dude. This is actually the company. I'll downsize it. What are they trying to make a cartoon here? I'll show you a little bit. This is an actual website, what they're trying to do. Oh, a little one-eyed action, huh? A little one eye. Oh, okay. Never mind. Don't trust a word he said. Oh, man. I really do wonder what that is sometimes. Don't you? Like, I know we know, but we don't fully know, We know everybody does it. Who's in Hollywood, who's in music, entertainment. But we don't fully know why. We have a good idea, but we don't fully know why. Anyway, this is the website. Right now, it seems like he's abandoned building a machine that's going to like test the gravity, be able to bend time and things like that. It seems like he's moved away from that. But funny enough, Hal is still a part of this company. They have research, Catalyst for Change. Oh, again, you bring that up. Catalyst for Change, To the Stars, award-winning entertainment. So basically, it seems like they're trying to do Gimbal, the first official UAP footage from USG public release. Can I play this? Can I play this? Oh, cool. I don't need the music, thank you. You don't have to pull at my emotions in order to get me to believe. Trust me. Taken on board. Get out of here. Taken on board Navy FA-18 Super Hornet. The unaltered footage was captured by Raytheon Advanced Targeting forward-looking infrared pod, which contains the most advanced sensors and powerful tracking systems on the market. Get right to it. Let me see this. What is this? This is it. This is a still image. Tom, it's a still image, bro. Oh, they're like telling you everything that it is. It's like, okay, so this thing's here. They're telling you that this is right here. Wow, they're really like breaking it down. Okay. F-18 calibrated airspeed. Okay. Okay, but I want to see the thing move. You got to do that, though. Okay, so now it's moving. Cool. Going into the winds. Is it going to play?
That thing, dude.
Ooh, let's hear that. I want to hear that.
Dude, there's a drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like another thing, it's rotating.
Interesting. Interesting. So I guess they have a bunch of stuff. They don't have any more videos like that, but this is the website just to let you know about like what's going on with this guy. So that's actually what he's working on. It's still happening, you know. I don't know if they're going to be building anything that's going to bend time soon, but you know, he had an interesting thing that he broke down. Let me do this. He and it kind of gives way to things seeming interdimensional. I have a piece of paper here, right? I got a pen. It's just like a straight line, right? I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see that, but I just drew a straight line, right? And he says what they do is, and what I'm doing right now is I'm folding the paper. I'm folding it, and I'm folding it, right? And I'm folding it, and I'm folding it. And then there's pieces of the paper that I can see in the folds. And they're saying that this technology, so you go like this, right? I just wrote on all the folds. And then when you actually, and maybe you could do this yourself. I'm not doing a good job of this. But then when you actually look at the piece of paper, because I made those folds, you're seeing like a line, a piece of a line, line. It's looking like instead of it being one straight line, it's actually broken up into pieces. So it looks like there's pieces missing. And apparently that's what they're saying happens when you're bending time. When you're bending time, that seems to be what's taken place. And that's why when you watch a lot of this UAP footage, that's why you see a lot of them, the thing looks like it's blipping in and out of existence because it's moving that fast. It's bending time in that way. I don't really know. There is a physicist that I am supposed to interview, this guy Jack Sarfati, and man, this guy is making me read 2 of his books. I have a bunch of questions. He said maybe in September. This guy's like 90 years old, but still like really with it. I'm trying to get him on the podcast, but I have to read these books now and do an essay and give it to him. And in the email we had, he BCC'd, not BBC. He BCC'd a bunch of people. I don't even know who. He's just like their colleagues and whatnot. They're just like scientists and journalists. And I'm like, well, okay. So we'll see what happens to me. But this guy worked for the CIA. He worked for DOD. And he says he has time travel figured out. Like just this very interesting guy. Can't wait to talk to him. But anyway, I'm off topic here. Let's play the last Tom DeLonge clip.
If you were able to take a person and lay them down and put measurement tools all around their body and measure frequencies, but you would be able to pick up the aura. You'd be able to pick up electromagnetic frequencies that are emanating from the human being. And the human being, if that person was happy, sad, angry, jealous, all those things are certain types of frequencies. But for the basis of this conversation, let's say all the good things you feel or all the bad things you feel. Okay, the UFO phenomenon is interested in the bad things, and it brings along a lot of bad things. But the good news is that when a human being feels good, when a human being feels love, when a human being feels happiness, that energy, if I had the tool, then I could walk up to you and measure it and show you on a computer screen, you have this energy that's like 98.84 hertz. It's coming from you right now. Whatever that frequency of happiness and love is it's a death nuke missile straight to the UFO. And over the years, we found that out, and we are trying to understand it, but it's really, really complex stuff. If you were able to take a person,
Not really complex. That's a demon. Like, pretty easy to figure that out. These things feed off of fear and anger, and they tend to like that. And when you emanate love and happiness, it's a nuke to them. What? That's evil. It's not that hard. See, but when you're someone who doesn't want to seem like you believe in that, like that's just too far-fetched. Demons and evil and hell and heaven and God and Jesus, that's just too much. That's that other thing that we have to push aside. So we're trying to figure out why this thing, like I bet you it doesn't like you when you call out the name Jesus either. I bet it gets real upset when you do that too. Oh, what is that? I don't know. It's real complex stuff. It's not real complex stuff. See, that's the one downfall. That's what I noticed. That's the downfall. Yeah, I'm surprised that the religious people who really don't like to talk about the supernatural, but then also will just push aside all UFO conversations. And I'm so surprised that the UFO people who do the same thing with religion and the occult, and then the occult people do the same thing with religion and the UFO. It's so odd that the people who are summoning entities and the people who are pulling in UFOs with their mind and the people who believe, like I do, that Jesus died on the cross, rose from the dead 3 days later, they're not on the same page. It's so weird. Like, you think they would all just be super open-minded. But no. But the worst part, though, the worst thing is that it can't be demons. To these people, and I've noticed this in the occult realm as well, can't be demons. UFO people say it can't be demons. What I just heard, that explanation, what else? Again, I already mentioned it. What else is love and light? What else is love and happiness? Jesus. What are you supposed to do according to scripture? Fill yourself with the word. Why? Because you'll be filled with happiness and love. What does that do? It makes the UFO not want to be around you. Oh, okay. I've already learned about this. You don't have to even go through the whole Bible to learn this. You get halfway through and know this little message here. Anyway, I got to get Tom DeLonge on the podcast. If you're on X, please tag him. Say, hey, this guy, Coach Colin, you should really go on his podcast. Do it. We need to start doing that collectively. If you want to see these people on the podcast, let's do that all together. If I could get 1,000 people to do that, there's no way he wouldn't come on the podcast. There's just no way. So I need your help there. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to bring you that.